There is a country in Northern Europe where the winter sun barely climbs above the horizon before disappearing again, where people regularly lower themselves into ice-cold water by choice and come out smiling, where silence at a dinner table is not awkward, it is comfortable, normal, even preferred, where there is roughly one sauna for every two people in the entire country. Happiness surveys have been done and redone and cross-checked across hundreds of thousands of people. The result keeps coming back the same. Finland is the happiest country on earth. Not once, 7 years in a row. That should be impossible by almost everything we think we know about what makes people happy. Finland has long winters of genuine darkness, a history scarred by war and occupation and the civil conflict that tore the country apart before it had barely started. A border stretching over 1,000 kilometers alongside Russia. A place where on a February afternoon the sun is gone before 4 o'clock and will not return until close to 9 the next morning. And yet, here we are. The answer is not any single thing. It lives in the texture of an ordinary Finnish life, in words that do not translate cleanly into other languages, in rituals practiced with a seriousness that borders on religion, and in a relationship with silence and forest and community that the rest of the world has spent years trying to package and export without quite understanding what it actually is. This is what that life really looks like. Finland is enormous for a country of only 5.5 million people. It is the fifth largest country in the European Union by land area, and most of that land is covered by trees. About 75% of Finland is forest, the highest proportion in Europe. The country also holds nearly 188,000 lakes, a number so large that it loses its meaning quickly. Not ponds or reservoirs, lakes, real ones, scattered across the interior like a map of somewhere else entirely. Standing on the shore of one in midsummer, pine forest on every side, the water so still it mirrors the sky perfectly above it, you begin to feel that Finland is not a country that contains nature. It is a country built inside nature. There is a difference, and it runs through everything. The silence is what most visitors notice first, and most of them are not ready for it. Not the silence of an empty room, the silence of people who genuinely enjoy not speaking. Finns are comfortable with quiet in a way that most cultures find disorienting. A pause in conversation is not a problem here. It is not awkwardness waiting to be rescued by noise. It is simply a pause. A breath the conversation takes before deciding to continue. There is a joke that a Finnish extrovert is someone who stares at your shoes while talking to you instead of their own. And like all good jokes, it contains more truth than it means to admit. Discomfort with silence is not coldness. Sit with Finnish people long enough to get past the surface, and you find a loyalty that is absolute and a directness that can be startling after a lifetime of conversations padded with social noise. When a Finn tells you something, they mean it. When they sit quietly beside you, that is also something they mean. But before we understand what Finland is, we need to go back to what it nearly wasn't. Finland declared independence on the 6th of December 1917, just weeks after the Russian Revolution collapsed the empire that had controlled Finnish territory for over a century. Before Russia, Sweden had governed Finland for nearly 700 years. In all that time, Finnish had been the language of farmers and servants. The educated class spoke Swedish. Finnish culture was considered provincial, rough, without prestige. The idea of Finland as a country with its own soul was something its own rulers did not take seriously. The first person who made the outside world pay attention was a composer named Jan Sibelius. In 1899, with Russia tightening its grip on Finnish life and pushing Finnish culture towards silence, Sibelius wrote a tone poem he called Finlandia. It was so openly about Finnish defiance that Russian authorities banned it from being performed under its real name. People played it anyway, listing it on concert programs under different titles, and every audience understood exactly what they were hearing. A piece of music became an act of survival. Because sometimes, when everything else has been taken, music is the only thing left that cannot be confiscated. Independence came in 1917. Then, almost immediately, civil war. In 1918, barely weeks after the declaration, Finland split violently between Reds and Whites, working class against bourgeois, each side driven by ideology and the accumulated fear that makes civil wars the most specific kind of terrible. Tens of thousands died. The wound took generations to close, and its shadow runs through Finnish literature and Finnish family memory in ways that still surface quietly, unexpectedly, even now. Then came the Winter War. On the 30th of November 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland. The Soviet army brought 450,000 soldiers. Finland had roughly 300,000, many of them reservists who pulled skis out of storage and reported to borders in temperatures that dropped below -40. The rest of the world watched and assumed Finland would be finished within weeks. Military analysts drew their conclusions. Newspapers wrote the eulogies in advance. What happened instead became one of the most extraordinary stories in modern military history. Finnish soldiers moved through the forests on skis, appearing and vanishing, using cold and darkness as weapons, the same way other armies used tanks and artillery. They knew the terrain in the way that men who have grown up cutting wood and hunting in those specific forests know terrain, which is to say, completely and quietly, and without needing a map. One Finnish soldier named Simo Häyhä, a farmer from a small southern Finnish village, became the most effective sniper in recorded military history during that war. He operated in conditions that would have broken most people, lying motionless in the snow for hours, using iron sights instead of a scope, because raising a scope to his eye might catch just enough light to give his position away. Over 105 days of winter fighting, his confirmed kills numbered over 500. Finland held. Against the largest military force in the world, Finland held for 105 days. It lost territory. It lost tens of thousands of people. When the peace came in March 1940, the Karelian region was surrendered to the Soviet Union, and Finnish families who had lived there for generations had to leave everything behind and start over somewhere else. But Finland remained Finland, independent, unoccupied, itself. The Finnish word for what made that possible is sisu. It does not translate cleanly. Resilience comes closest, or grit, but neither captures it fully. Sisu is the thing that gets you up after you have already decided there is no point in getting up. It is the decision to keep going, made not from confidence, but from something quieter and more stubborn than confidence. Less a virtue than a necessity. A quality the Finnish climate and Finnish history made necessary, and that Finnish people came to treat as simply part of who they are. Carried forward from the Winter War and the Civil War, and 7 centuries of someone else being in charge, meaning in the end only this: we are still here. 3 million saunas, 5.5 million people. That is roughly 1 sauna for every 2 citizens, which gives you a sense of how seriously Finland takes the thing before you have even stepped inside one. The ritual is unhurried and specific. You heat the stove, wood-fired in the traditional form, until the stones on top of it are hot enough that water thrown onto them turns instantly to steam. That steam has its own Finnish word, löyly. The löyly is not a side effect, it is the whole point. You sit in the heat and feel your muscles release their tension one by one, the way ice releases its grip on a lake in spring. Your mind goes somewhere quieter than it usually manages to reach. Then you go outside. In winter, directly into the lake or into the snow. The cold arrives with such total immediacy that every other thought in your head simply disappears. Then back inside. Then out again. Back and forth until something in you that was tightly wound has completely let go. The oldest form is the smoke sauna, the savusauna. A room with no chimney. The fire fills the space with smoke for hours, while the stones absorb the heat. Then the embers die and the smoke slowly clears, and what remains is a warmth that sits in the walls, in the blackened wooden benches, in the air itself. The smell is specific and old, wood smoke and cedar, and something beneath those that has no name, because it is the smell of the thing itself and not of anything else. Finland's sauna tradition was recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2020. Finns acknowledged this briefly and went back inside the sauna. Historically, saunas in Finland were where births happened, because the sauna was the cleanest warm room available, where medical procedures were performed, where important decisions were made. There is a Finnish saying that goes, "If the sauna, schnapps, and tar cannot help, the illness is fatal." This is usually repeated with a straight face. Finland drinks more coffee per person than any other country on earth. More than Italy, more than Colombia, more than anywhere coffee actually grows. About 12 kilograms per person per year. In Finnish offices, Finnish living rooms, Finnish petrol stations on empty stretches of highway, and Finnish hospital waiting rooms, there is always coffee, and it is always available, and declining it is a social decision with real weight. Finnish coffee is not performance. There is no elaborate preparation, no lengthy menu. It is strong, it is black, it is in a cup, and you drink it while sitting with someone. Talking or not talking. Both are equally acceptable in Finland, which is not true in most places. This is fika, with the decoration removed, the warmth kept, and the silence made welcome. The Finnish government once published a set of emoji representing aspects of national life to international audiences. Among them was one representing the concept of kalsarikännit, which translates roughly as drinking alone at home in your underwear with no intention of going anywhere. It was not listed as a warning or a character flaw. It was presented as a legitimate and valued way to spend an evening. The international reaction was immediate and universal affection, possibly because most people in most countries also do this, but had never seen it named with pride. Every Finnish child starts formal school at the age of 7. Not 6, 7. Before that, almost all attend subsidized early childhood programs that look more like organized play than structured learning, because Finland has understood for decades what child development research confirms. Children allowed to develop at their own pace arrive at formal education ready for it, rather than already exhausted by something that started before they were prepared. Finnish schools do not rank children against each other in the early years. There are no national standardized exams before the age of 16. To become a teacher in Finland, you need a master's degree, and competition for places in teacher education programs is intense, with far more applicants than there are spaces most years. Teaching in Finland is not a fallback career. It is a first choice that many capable people cannot get into. The salary and social status reflect this, which is worth noting for anyone who has ever watched the country complain about the quality of its schools while paying its teachers accordingly. What comes out of this system is not necessarily the highest raw test scores in the world, though Finland does well. What comes out is people who trust their own thinking, who are not afraid of problems they cannot immediately solve, and who know how to sit with uncertainty without panic. That last quality turns out to matter for the rest of a life, in ways that no standardized exam was ever designed to measure. Since 1938, Finland has given a physical box to every mother who registers for prenatal care before 4 months of pregnancy. The box contains what a newborn needs: clothing, bedding, a small mattress. The box itself, lined with that mattress, becomes the baby's first bed. Every child in Finland, whether born into wealth or into very little, starts their life in the same box. When this became universal policy in 1949, it was not framed as charity. It was framed as a statement about what kind of country Finland intended to be. Every new life beginning from the same starting point. Every new person acknowledged by the state before they have done a single thing to earn it. Foreign journalists discover the Finnish baby box every few years and write about it with visible amazement. And Finnish people read those articles and find the reaction genuinely puzzling, because from inside Finland, it is simply what you do when a child is born. The same way you simply do many things here that turn out, when observed from outside, to be remarkable. In the weeks before the first snow, something happens across Finland that the language has its own word for: ruska. It is the autumn color season in Lapland, when the forests shift from green to every possible shade of orange and gold and red, faster and more completely than almost anywhere else in the world. People travel specifically for ruska, walking through the northern forests while every tree burns with color against a grey autumn sky, knowing that this particular light will not last long. It never does. Then ruska fades and the leaves fall, and Finland enters what the north calls kaamos, the polar night. In the northernmost municipality of Utsjoki, the sun does not rise above the horizon for more than 50 days in deepest winter. Not a short day. No day. A long blue twilight in the middle of what the clock calls afternoon, and then darkness again. And then the same tomorrow. This is where sisu stops being a historical concept and becomes a daily practice. Finnish people light candles. They use the sauna more. They walk in the forest, even in the dark, because the forest, covered in snow at dusk, has its own low light, a white glow that changes the quality of the darkness around it. They meet for coffee because the warmth and the company shouldn't help. They practice, in other words, the very things that the happiness surveys will later credit them for. Not because they are performing wellness, but because winter in the far north is genuinely hard, and these particular things actually work. There is one more word before this story ends, and it is the oldest one: talkoot. It is the Finnish tradition of communal work, neighbors gathering to help each other with tasks that are too large for one person or one family alone. Building a barn, bringing in a harvest before bad weather arrives, cutting and stacking firewood before the first freeze. The principle is simple. You show up when someone needs you, and they show up when you need them. And the currency that passes between you is not money, but reliability itself. Talkoot is older than modern Finland. It goes back into the agricultural life of small communities scattered across a cold and forested country, where winter was long enough and hard enough that cooperation was not a virtue, but a survival condition. And it has not gone away. When floods hit Finnish communities, when fires spread, when something large and difficult arrives without warning, talkoot shows up. The word is old, but the practice is alive, because the understanding that built it, that you do not face the hard things alone, has not left. What Finland seems to have understood, through all of it, is something that sounds simple and turns out to be very hard. That happiness is not the same thing as comfort. The country that finishes first in the happiness surveys year after year is also the country where the winter lasts 6 months and the sauna runs hot and the history still carries genuine weight. Finland did not arrive at happiness by removing difficulty from daily life. It arrived there by building a society so committed to each person's well-being, so honest about what life actually requires, and so deeply trustworthy in its institutions, that when difficulty comes, as it always does, it cannot become catastrophe. The baby in the box. The school that starts at 7 and rushes no one. The sauna where the real conversations happen in heat and silence. The forest that belongs to whoever needs to walk in it. The word sisu, carried forward from the Winter War and the Civil War and 700 years of someone else being in charge. It is still being practiced tonight. On a February evening in a Finnish town, the sun went down hours ago. A light comes on in a kitchen window. Someone puts the kettle on for coffee. Someone else comes in from the cold, takes off their coat, and sits down across the table. Nothing particular is going to happen. There is no plan. Just the coffee. Just the warmth. Just the particular silence between two people who have long since stopped needing to fill it with anything. Outside, snow falls through the dark. The forest is still. The lake is frozen and quiet underneath all of it. Finland is in there, in that kitchen, in that silence, in the cup held with both hands against the cold. And it keeps being the happiest country on earth,